everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Alex and today I'm going to be talking about some underrated books. Today I've compiled a list of 5 books that I think are way underrated in the booktube community. I've either heard little or nothing about these books and I personally loved all of them and think that they deserve way more hype than they've gotten. So without further ado, let's jump in. First on my list is I Have Lost My Way by Gayle Forman. Gayle Forman is known for her more popular novel If I Stay, and she has written several other novels since then, but If I Lost My Way is one that I think really flew under the radar, especially in the booktube community, and I think if more people picked it up, they would really enjoy it. This story follows 3 separate teenagers who meet in Central Park one day. The whole story takes place over one day, and it touches on so many interesting topics, so many important discussions that need to be had. It talks about first love, family tragedy, fear of the future, all big issues that I feel like teenagers are really dealing with. And I think that it's just a very important story that needs to be told. There's a lot of good diversity in this book. It's been a while since I've read it. It was earlier last year, so I don't remember all of the details, but I just remember being absolutely touched by the story, loving the way that it unfolded. And I haven't heard hardly anything about it, especially in the last 6 months to a year on BookTube. So I really think that more people need to pick this one up, especially if you were a fan of If I Stay, or even if you didn't particularly like that story, but you liked her writing, I would definitely give this one a shot. Second on my list is My Name is Venus Black by Heather Lloyd. I have only ever heard one other person talk about this book, and I actually hadn't heard about it before I picked it up. I just saw it randomly at the library one day, picked it up on a whim, and ended up absolutely loving it. This was one of my favorite debut novels from last year, and it follows our main character, Venus Black, who at the beginning of the novel is getting out of prison. Venus is estranged from her mother, and her little brother went missing before she went into prison. And she has a fake identity, so you are trying to figure out who she actually is, what happened to her brother, is she going to repair her relationship with her mother? It really just unfolds beautifully. The pacing was perfect, the writing was perfect, there were twists and turns that I didn't expect. This is a little bit of a darker contemporary story, but there are some lighter parts. It balances very, very well. For a debut, I was highly impressed, and I will be picking up anything else that Heather Lloyd writes. So if you like contemporaries with a little bit of a mystery element in them, I would definitely go for this one. Next is one that's not completely underrated. This one did win, I believe, the National Book Award a couple of years ago, but I haven't heard as much about it in recent years, and it's my favorite book of all time, so I'll take any chance I can get to push it to you, and that is Far from the Tree by Robin Benway. I adore this story. We follow 3 different siblings who were separated at birth, and since then 2 of them have been adopted separately and 1 of them remains in the foster care system. At the beginning of this story, one of the siblings discovers that she was adopted and has these 2 other siblings. She connects with them, they form a relationship, and they decide to seek out their birth mother. There is so much good representation in this. You have a variety of different races. One of the siblings is a teen mom who actually puts her own child up for adoption, and that's not a spoiler, that happens in like the first chapter. There is just so much to be said about how powerful this novel is. No matter what kind of background you come from, no matter who you are, I think everybody needs to hear this story. It is just so powerful, and it's unlike anything that I've ever read. So if this has escaped you, you should go back and pick it up. This is a harder hitting novel. Pick it up if you're in the right mindset, but it is not one to be missed. Next is another one that I have heard a little bit about because it was made into a movie adaptation, but it still is pretty underrated in my opinion, and that is Every Day by David Levithan. This has been one of my favorite books of all time, and it still holds a very high place in my heart, but I haven't reread it in a while. This book follows a character named A, who wakes up every single day in a different body. Sometimes male, sometimes female, all kinds of different races, sexualities, yada yada. And A does not like to get attached to anybody because they know that as soon as they do, once that day ends, they are going to wake up in a different body. So A has never gotten attached to anybody until A meets Rhiannon. A is put into Rhiannon's boyfriend's body, and they spend the day together, and A falls in love and spends the rest of the novel trying to find Rhiannon again and connect, kind of explain who they are, and the story just goes from there. I have not yet seen the movie adaptation of this or read the sequel that has recently come out. There's a companion novel called Another Day that follows Rhiannon, and then there is a direct sequel called Someday. I haven't gotten to read those two yet, but I do own Another Day. But Every Day is one that I feel has not got enough hype in the world. Even though it was turned into a movie, it was still pretty underrated. So if you haven't read this or seen the movie, go pick it up if that sounds like something you're interested in. It's a contemporary love story with a lot of magical realism in it. And my last pick is actually a nonfiction book, and that is When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. This is Paul's memoir. Paul was a neurosurgeon, and at the age of 36, he was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. So it follows Paul as he goes from taking care of the patients to becoming the patient. I usually have a hard time rating nonfiction, especially memoirs, because I feel like it's hard to put a rating, put a star, put a number on somebody's life story. But this one I gave 5 stars, mainly because I loved the way that it was written. I feel like it was very well thought out. The science elements that go into this novel they don't go over your head if you're like me and are terrible at science and know nothing about science, but they are explained very well. His perspective on life is just very insightful, and it's really eye-opening. It's an incredible story. If you haven't heard of this one, haven't picked it up, again, kind of the point of this video, I feel like you should really give it a go. Whether or not you are typically a memoir reader, I feel like there is something to be gained from this one. So that is it for my top 5 underrated books. If you happen to have read any of these, go ahead and let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below. But I will be leaving the Goodreads links for all 5 of these books down in the description so that you can go and check them out. So until next time, bye!